So, hello everyone, welcome. This is Michaela Conley, HP CareerNet, Health Promotion Live. And today we have Susan Tufts from L.L.Bean, and I'm really happy that Susan, you're able to be here with us. And this is actually the first in a series of Koop Award winner webinars. L.L.Bean won in...
We actually won in '93 when it was first beginning, and we won again in 2009.
I'm really happy that you're here, and I'm going to ask Joe Fanuff to introduce you.
Great.
You know, L.L.Bean's employee wellness program has been in place since 1982. Throughout the 30 years of programming and health improvement efforts, they have experienced great success and many challenges. They have captured fabulous historical data that has allowed them to determine what the key factors are that have contributed to their ultimate success. This presentation will discuss program outcomes as well as how they achieve them. Susan Tufts is the wellness manager at L.L.Bean. She has a diverse educational background in nursing, athletic training, cardiac rehab, and exercise physiology. This has prepared her well for the role of wellness manager. She has been with the company overseeing the wellness department for 25 years. They have had tremendous success with their program and have also experienced those challenges. The most rewarding part of her job has been at L.L.Bean long enough to really be able to see what has been accomplished through their wellness efforts. Employees and their family members have improved their health, company health risks have decreased, and our health care costs have been below regional and national norms for many years. She loves sharing her program information with anyone who is interested and loves hearing from others as to what has worked in their organizations.
Well, thank you. Really looking forward to hearing all about it. The floor is yours.
Well, great. Welcome to everybody who's on the line. I hope that today's presentation is valuable to you. I have done several presentations over the last couple of years, and some of the information that I'm including in the slides today, if you've sat in on any of my presentations, will look familiar to you. But in addition, I have new information, new data, and I also have at the end, depending on how much time we have left, I have some pilot programs that we've implemented here at L.L.Bean that I'm hoping to share with all of you. So here we go. We'll move forward. I think the first thing I'd like to say is we did establish some learning objectives. I want to make sure that all of you are aware of some of the key factors that we feel has led to success at L.L.Bean with our wellness programs. I think they're going to be representative of what you've heard from other companies, certainly, but we actually have some data that shows how those factors work together, which I think is really neat. I also want to share some pilot program information that we have. We've done a couple new things, actually, several more than I have time to share, but if we have time at the end of this presentation, I have included a couple slides to talk about an exercise program that we're doing on paid company time that has actually increased productivity, and I'll talk a little bit about that. I also want to talk about our employee outdoor club that we've had in place for a little over a year now. And finally, facilities, exercise, and health improvement program that was implemented by our facilities department specifically for their area of about 100, 120 employees, and tell you about some of the outcomes of that effort, which was a predominantly male organization. So it's kind of neat. And then finally, we just received our most recent return on investment information from our partnership with WebMD. We work with WebMD to offer our employees and their family members a health risk appraisal program, telephonic health coaching, and also biometric screening. And our most recent information that we got from WebMD shows a 5.3 to 1 return on investment. And I'll talk about the details of that information as we go forward. I want to say up front, the one thing I miss doing a presentation online is not being able to read the audience faces. So I'm hoping you're all interested in what I just said, and I would like to say that at the end of the slides is my contact information, and I would love to hear from any of you who have additional questions or want to share your own information on what might be working with your program. So what I'm going to talk about today briefly is a little bit of information on L.L.Bean in case some of you aren't familiar with our company, I want to talk about the history of our program, where we've come from. As was said when I was introduced, we've had a program in place for a long time, almost 30 years now, and we've done a lot of different things. It's funny, people always seem to want to hear what doesn't work or what has not worked well as much as what has, and I'll try and talk to that as we go through as well, because believe me, there are many things that have not gone as we had hoped they would, despite the fact that we've had many successes. The Healthy Lifestyles Program, that's our health risk appraisal program. So again, I'll share a little bit of information on the people impacts of that program along with the cost impacts that we've seen. And then finally, I hope to have time to get to the pilot programs. So just starting out, our company was founded almost 100 years ago. In 2012, we'll be having our 100th anniversary, so be on the lookout for information on that. We're all excited as employees. I actually was here for the 75th anniversary, and I remember thinking, I was back, in my 20s then, and thinking, wow, I wonder if anybody will be here for the 100th, and I never thought it would be me, but yep, I'm still here. So we're excited, 100-year-old company. It was actually founded by Leon Wood-Bean. That's where the LL comes from. And his first product was a Maine hunting shoe. And he was a hunter. He'd go out in the woods and he'd tromp through fields and he'd come home with his feet wet and freezing. And he wanted to make the hunting experience more pleasurable. So he made a bean boot or a hunting shoe that was rubber on the bottom and leather on the top, so it was comfortable, but it protected his feet from the elements. And he sold those, and of his first 100 pairs that went out, 97 were returned because they leaked. So he took all of those back and he invested to make the product better. He made everybody happy, and that really founded our company principles: product quality and customer service. And that was with his first sale almost 100 years ago, and that is, I think, what we pride ourselves on today, is maintaining product quality and doing everything we can to keep our customers happy. Our stores and our catalog company are opened 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Actually, I should say our stores in Freeport are open 24 hours a day. We do have stores throughout the country, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But the Freeport stores and the catalog, products can be ordered at any time of day or night. And I would say, along with our company heritage, our a critical piece are our core values. And as you can see here on the slide, our outdoor heritage, our integrity, service, respect for others, perseverance, and most importantly to us is the most recently added, which was in 2006, and it's a safe and healthy living core value. And I'll touch base on that in a minute. You'll see a couple pictures of our L.L.Bean tote bags on the upper right, and down below is a large bean boot that is outside of our main headquarters in Freeport, Maine. That is where we are located, and it is about an hour, a little bit over an hour north of the Maine border coming in from New Hampshire. As I said earlier, we are a global organization. In addition to our stores throughout the country, we also have stores in Japan and most recently in China. We have about 60 small stores that have opened in China. So we are pretty spread out, despite the fact that we're not that big of a company. We have annually about $1.5 billion in sales, annual sales. Our employee count year-round is about 5,000, and we go up to 10,000 during our peak season that starts in the summer and really goes through Christmas. So it's quite a employee shift during that time of year. Our healthcare costs, our annual health costs are about $30 million. They're actually a little lower than that now, and I'll share that with you as we go forward. We are self-insured, and that is one of the reasons that our wellness programs are so important to us, because what our employees incur for health costs is what we pay. The average age of our employees is 48, and that is also a concern for us as we continue to age. We have a lot of production jobs, a lot of very manual, physical jobs, and if we don't keep our employees healthy and fit, we're concerned about their ability to do their jobs and also about injuries. And we are about 66% female. So that's what makes up our population. This is a picture of LL back before he started selling his hunting boots when he was a young boy, and kind of the golden rule that he developed and has been continued for the past 100 years is to sell good merchandise at a reasonable profit, treat your customers like human beings, and they will always come back for more. So, you know, for me, when I look at that rule or the golden rule, and I think back to when I first came to the company, I heard that as an employee, and you know, a lot of what he says, I think applies to how I feel about our employees and how I would want to treat our customers and our employees as customers, and I think that's worked out really well. So the next slide shows, it has a picture of Leon's grandson. The man in the middle of this picture is Leon Gorman. He's Leon's grandson. He was company president from the mid-1960s to the early 2000s, so about 40 years. He brought us from a $3 million company to a $1 billion company during that time, and he was very progressive in bringing the company forward. I think one of the most exciting things he did in my mind is in 1982, it was at his request that a wellness program was started here at L.L.Bean. And he felt very strongly that because of the type of activities we promote, which is primarily enjoying the outdoors, that he really wanted our employees to maintain their health and well-being so that they could enjoy those activities. So he said at a healthcare conference, actually I believe it was an insurance conference back in the early 80s, that a business is in a unique and responsible position to effectively enhance the well-being of its employees. And you know, all these different pieces that have come, whether it's from LL in the beginning or Leon as he grew the company, they've become really strong for me as far as paying attention to these as we go forward, trying to make our program better and better every year. So it was Leon who started us off, and in 2006, our board of directors and the president decided that we needed to include safe and healthy living along with our other core values. We've lived it a long time, and it really needed to be stated in with the other core values. And this is what it says. We believe healthy people lead fuller, more productive lives. Our employees and other stakeholders should feel their association with L.L.Bean contributes to their health and well-being. And so as important as safety is to our company, which I would say is very, very important, the fact that we want our employees to be healthy is equally important, and we are working to see that that can happen. Just a little history about our programs, or a little information about our wellness programs. We have 12 on-site fitness facilities. They are not million-dollar facilities by any means. Some are 400 square feet, some are larger than that, and some are smaller than that. So we have a wide variety of facilities on site. They are staffed with good equipment. One thing I would say, actually, this is interesting because people, again, as I said in the beginning, they want to hear what didn't work. Well, I'll share one of those right now. I came in 1985, and for the first 15 to 20 years I was here, I was constantly being told that we are not the business, we support the business. You know, that anything that is not marketing or the product areas, we support the business. And I was very conscious of that. And so I was a Yankee conservative, and I was very careful with the money that we spent in our fitness rooms. And we had a wonderful employee in facilities who recently retired who maintained all our equipment, and he could fix anything. So the first, I think it was about 5 years ago, our company president was in using the fitness room, and he went back to his office and he saw our chief operating officer, and he said to him, you know, Bob, I think I just ran on the same treadmill that I ran on 20 years ago. And the reality was he was right. It was a 20-year-old treadmill, and it still worked great. So the issue was we were maintaining the equipment. It was working really well, but we weren't staying with the trends. We weren't updating as other facilities were. And we had seen our usage in our fitness facilities drop off because of that. So we put together a proposal to upgrade all 12 rooms. And that included everything from new equipment, new strength training equipment, new aerobic equipment, cardiovascular equipment, but also putting in new carpeting, new painting, putting in televisions like some of the, Welcome to the 21st Century. And as a result of making those changes and even getting some additional staff to help staff those facilities, we increased from 19,000 visits in our fitness rooms in the first year to 44,000 visits. That first year we upgraded the room. And then from that year to the following year, the second year, we went from 44,000 to 60,000 visits. So basically, we tripled our usage from 20,000 visits to 60,000 visits by investing in the program. So my mistake that I learned from that was, you can be penny wise and pound foolish. Sometimes it's more appropriate to invest a little bit to get the outcome that you want to get. So I hope you appreciated that mistake on my part. The second thing I have down there is health education classes and then activity classes. The picture you see in 2 years ago, or actually I guess 4 years ago now, we did a 25th anniversary resource guide. And what that did is it listed all of our classes, our activity and health education classes, listed our fitness center hours. It's a way to communicate and market our programs, but also it took a look back at the last 25 years of our programs. And it had comments and stories and quotes from both our leaders and also from our employees, all different people who participated in the program. It was very well received, great way to communicate our programs, but also a great way to kind of take stock of where we were. And actually, if you if you look at the bottom, this is exciting for any of you who are not technology savvy. I am showing you something that I can do here. Okay. Can you see a red dot? I can't. You can't answer me.
No.
All right. This is great. Anyways, I'm hoping that you can see a red dot here. And what I'm doing on the screen is showing the picture in the bottom row, the second to the left. And if you could see that a little bigger, that is me and a group of people, including, I believe, Hillary Clinton was there, and Dr. Koop, and that was when we won the Koop Award in 1993. So that's kind of part of our history and very cool. The other thing I would say that we have down here is not just the programs that we offer, but also the fact that we've gone tobacco free on our campuses. We have worked to offer healthy foods in our cafeteria and vending machines, and not only offer them, but also subsidize them to make them more affordable. And then our Employee Outdoor Club, which I'll talk about a little later at the end. So I listed some what I feel are the key factors for success that we've experienced at L.L.Bean. And, as I talked about in the beginning, we have a lot of health improvement programs. We have on-site fitness centers. We offer a wide variety of health education and activity classes. We have our health risk appraisal program. We do a lot to communicate with our employees through newsletters and employee assistance programs. And we have an on-site stretch break program. But equally important as the programs you offer is the environment you create. So having policies in place that say, okay, we are going to not allow smoking on our campuses or in our buildings, being progressive with your safety efforts, trying to make sure that what you're offering for food, both in the cafeterias and at on-site meetings, has healthy options. Those things are all important. And then also, there's a lot out nowadays on the culture and how important the culture is. And I feel like, we've been very lucky with that because we have an outdoor-oriented culture and company. What we do as a company kind of supports or reinforces that healthy lifestyle. If you don't have a company that has the same I would say values, it's certainly something to work towards, and a piece of that culture is having your leadership support the programs that you're offering, because employees know, if you have a fitness center but no senior leaders are using it, then they don't feel as comfortable to get in there and use it. So I would say the more that the corporate leadership can model the behavior, the more participation you're going to see. This is a great slide, and this is what I talked about in the beginning about being at a company long enough to be able to see change. And what we're looking at here is from 1986 to 1993. The first year I did a health survey here at Beans was in '86, and our smoking rate was about 23%. Today it's down to 7%. Now, to get to 7% from 23% has been a journey, but it's not just providing the programs. We do have, back in '86, we offered on-site smoking cessation programs, and we had people take advantage of them. But in a 7-year period, we only decreased our smoking rate by about 4%. We went down to just under 20%. In a 2-year period between 93 and 95, we went tobacco-free in our buildings, and we saw a 25% reduction in our smoking rate. We went from about 20% down to just under 15%. And that continued to be maintained for several years. So really eliminating those smoking rooms, we met with employees. It was a very labor-intensive communication campaign to partner with employees to make this successful. And one of the things we found that was a barrier for them is that, paying for nicotine patches or nicotine gum, even though they were paying the money for cigarettes, they felt that paying for the patches would be a barrier. So we removed the barrier. We offered to pay. We paid full price for the nicotine replacement therapies as long as they attended the on-site classes. So again, significant decreases once we changed the environment. We maintained those decreases for the next few years, as you see, going through 95 through about 2004. We were down to 12% of our employees smoking in 2004. And then we implemented tobacco-free campuses, and we did that in 2005, 2006. And in the next 4 years of the program, we went from 12% of our employees smoking down to 7%. So again, we're looking there at about a 40% decrease. Our main average smoking rate is 17%. So, I didn't really realize the impact until I looked back over time at this chart and really started thinking, well, what happened in these 2 periods of time when we had significant decreases? And it was because we changed the environment. And going a little further and talking about the personal impact, the woman in this picture is one of our employees, and she stopped smoking as a result of going tobacco-free in the retail store back in '94. And the interesting thing was she came to the meetings that we had with people to protect the rights of the smokers. She had no intention of stopping. But because of participating in the meetings and then attending the class to make sure it was done appropriately, she ended up being one of the people who was successful in stopping. She went on and she started working out at a local gym. She liked it so much she ended up getting in shape enough to teach a spinning class. She met her husband through that class, and it's just a really nice story. When you talk a lot about health promotion, oftentimes it's about risks and decreasing risks and lowering costs, but there's such a personal factor to it, and I think it's important never to lose sight of that. So, she is just a very interesting story, and I always think of her when I talk about this. The next slide here, we were looking, despite the fact that we had these programs in place since '92, in 2005, we were seeing increases in health costs similar to all the other companies out there. We were still lower in Maine. Our costs as a company were significantly lower than the costs of health care for other Maine companies. So we were lower than Maine companies, and we were about equal to regional and national norms. However, the increased rate, the projected medical cost increases over the next 5 years was what our CFO at the time called an unsustainable cost model. So we went out and spoke with employees at this time, shared this slide, because employees were paying 30% of these medical costs. The company pays 70%, we pay 30%. So we worked with the employees. We said we were introducing a new program, and we asked them to partner with us on it because they were invested in this as well. So what we did at that time is we developed and introduced a program called our Healthy Lifestyles Program. And this is a very comprehensive health risk appraisal program. It was a joint effort between our benefits department and our wellness department. We introduced it to our employees in 2006. And what we did is we tied it, as many companies are doing now, to our benefits costs. And people who were willing to participate in the program and complete 3 steps, which I'll talk about in a minute, they received reduced rates for their medical premiums. So as I said, 70/30 is the cost that participants in the program pay. Today, and it didn't start out this way, but today that ratio is 55/45 for people who don't participate, and we were able to maintain the 70/30 for people who do participate in the program. Eventually, our goal is to get down to a 50/50 and cost share for people who aren't involved in the program. As far as what the program goals are, we had 3 goals, and in my mind they're very clear and very simple. Our first goal is to help employees and their family members achieve and maintain good health. So the first thing is all about improved health. The second is to help manage healthcare costs to keep them affordable for both L.L.Bean and the employee. So for both of us, we want to keep those costs down. And the third thing was to help us as a wellness department to identify what our current health risks were in the company in order to prevent future illness and disease. So for example, if we had a lot of employees with high cholesterol values, could we work on that and hopefully avoid some heart disease issues down the road? Diabetes, how many people were having high glucose levels, and looking at all the risks, obesity, and what could we do in the different areas to improve those health risks before they lead to disease. So the 3 requirements of the program for people to receive that benefit, the cost benefit, they just need to participate at this point in time. And the participation is an on-site health screening, which is offered every other year. So that's not yearly, that's every other year. It's done on site at no cost. We do height, weight, blood pressure, and then we do a lipid profile, so all the cholesterol and triglyceride tests and glucose tests, and that is done through venipuncture. Then they do an online health questionnaire, and as I said earlier, we work with WebMD to provide them with an online health questionnaire, and then health coaching, telephonic health coaching, which we've actually had some recent great improvements in and great feedback from our employees. So we're really excited about that. In order to make this program successful, and I'll talk about what that looks like, what success looks like to us, but in order to do that, it is critical that you have a good communication campaign. And I've listed a multitude of different methods that we use to reach out to people. And we started with the group meetings when we were trying to convey the message to employees, because it was so important that it was worth it for us to go around the company, meeting to meeting to meeting to meeting. And we have a lot of different locations, so it's not like we have one headquarters. We probably had presentations in 20 different buildings for 3 different shifts, and it was very labor intensive. There were people we couldn't reach, obviously, by an on-site meeting, so we worked in other ways to communicate with them. But all types, there is no one communication method that works best. I would caution you that if you are trying to be technologically advanced with your communication methods, but your systems have not caught up with the messages you're trying to send out, it's a real challenge, and it's hard to do if for example, our employees are primarily production area employees, and they don't all have access to their own computers. So if you're sending out email messages and they don't have access during their shift to a computer, we're not doing a very good job reaching out to them. So there is a need for multiple methods of communication. On this next page, this is a brochure that actually was sent to people's homes. And again, we feel it's just as important to do home mailings as it is to have posters up at the site, because this is a program that is available not only to employees but to their spouses as well if they're covered under our health insurance. And also, as you'll see over to the side, this with the save $550 to $1,300, that's actually increased over time, and we are now at it's closer to a $1,700 cost savings if you have family coverage. But we talk a lot about be rewarded by participating, know your numbers. So we appeal to the sense that they want to improve their health. We also appeal to the sense that they're going to be saving money, because again, no one thing will appeal to everybody. So what has happened with our program? In the first 4 years of our program, we have had a fairly consistent 85% participation rate in the program, and that's both from employees. Those are from employees who elect medical coverage, and of those individuals, if they have spousal coverage or family coverage, their spouse is participating as well. So that's about 4,000 employees and spouses or domestic partners that are enrolled. And of those people who sign up to do the program, we've had a 98% completion rate. So we've been very successful at getting people through. And again, I would put that back to a lot of the communications that we work so hard to get out. We do also a lot of surveying, and the majority of people who have provided feedback on the program have had a positive experience. That being said, the people who make comments are usually the ones who haven't had as great an experience, and we listen to those very, very carefully, because that is, as hard as they are to hear when someone is not happy with how the program works, it's usually where you get the best information to improve your program. So we listen very closely to that information. And not only do we listen to it, we share it with our partners at WebMD, and they have done a fabulous job incorporating that information into how they run their business. And they listen to us, and I've got to say, this isn't a sales pitch for WebMD by any means, but their health coaching group that we've been working with has been fabulous. And really, it's important to us that they hear us and that they hear our employees. So that's pretty much how we've done the program. Again, back to this slide looks kind of funky. I don't think it went through quite as I sent it, but this is a woman who works in our fulfillment department. Her name is Kathleen Stevens, and what she shared with us is that her husband had not been to a doctor in 20 years. And he did not want to do this program, but he did it because of the cost savings. So he came in, and when he got his blood test back, he had high risk in 5 of the 7 risks that were tested. So he went to the doctor for the first time in 20 years. He got on medication to reduce his blood pressure and cholesterol, and in her words, she thinks the program saved his life. And I know you hear that a lot, but in my mind, you can never hear it too much. The interesting thing is we went back to her the second year, and when he went in for his screening, of those 5 red apples, 4 had been improved, and there was only 1 risk that he was dealing with at that point the following year. So really positive statements. Okay, so we're going to get into the data now, and I'm conscious of time. We have 25 more minutes, and I want to make sure that everybody understands what we're looking at here. Again, if you have any questions when we are done, feel free to email me or call me. I'm happy to talk over any of this information. What we're looking at here is a health risk comparison in our company for these specific 6 risk factors over the 4 years we've had the program in place. So we're looking at smoking, blood pressure, cholesterol, glucose, obesity, and sedentary lifestyle. Obviously, smoking and sedentary lifestyle are always self-reported. Well, I shouldn't say obviously. I know some of you do actually measure smoking nicotine levels. We don't do that. So self-reported for smoking and sedentary lifestyle. But in 2007, when you see the blue, and I'm realizing I shouldn't have that blue for smoking and sedentary lifestyle, but in the blood pressure, cholesterol, glucose, and obesity, the blue columns were measured data. So in 2007 and 2010, we did on-site screenings. In 2008 and 2009, it was self-reported. And what I want you to look at here, what I think is fascinating, is the difference in those four values between self-reported and measured. And this was all I needed to convince people here at LLBean that the investment we make in that on-site health screening, which is a very expensive piece of the program, is worth the money spent. Because as we've said many times, you can't improve, what you don't measure. If people don't know their cholesterol is a risk, are they really going to work to improve it? So what we're looking at here with blood pressure, back in 2007 when we first tested it, about 21% of our employees were at risk. In 2008, only 10% reported they were at risk. And then in 2009, about 5%. When we measured again, they were at the same level. We did see an improvement in cholesterol over those 4 years and in glucose, and I'll show you that on the next slide. But my big point with this slide is people do not know what their numbers are. You can see that they did better with obesity with reporting what that number was because they are more aware of what their weight is than glucose, cholesterol, or blood pressure. But even with that, it obviously wasn't as consistent as the measurements. So we're going to go to the next slide. And what this is showing you is just taking out the columns and saying, so what did we really see with our health risks? Did we improve? Smoking, we went from 12% down to 7%. And with this, are we ever going to do testing for whether or not somebody is a current smoker? We may if we reward for that, but we're rewarding based on participation right now and not whether or not they smoke. So I would say for the past 25 years, our smoking rates have been reported by self-reporting. So I do feel that these numbers are pretty accurate. Significant decrease in smoking. We've had a significant decrease in cholesterol. Our people with a cholesterol of 240% or more have gone down 22%. The number of employees with a high glucose level of 125 or more has gone down 18%. And the number of people exercising, and remember, this is sedentary lifestyle. So back in 2007, we had about 20% that weren't exercising at all. That's down to 6%. And that reflects that fitness center usage that I talked about before. So this is not surprising. When we look at data, we always look at what else is happening in the company to see, well, geez, do we really think these changes are correct? And yes, we do feel those changes are correct. High blood pressure did go up a little bit, and again, with an aging population, that wasn't too surprising. However, it is something we're focusing on as a company. Our biggest increased risk was obesity. And we are at 34.5% of our employees with a BMI of 30 or greater. And if you're actually looking at measured data, that is the average for the United States. 35.5 is the average obesity rate for the United States when you're looking at measured data. So we're right about even, which is not a good thing. And so as you might guess, that is the risk factor that we are most targeting as a company right now. Okay, so costs. Let's look at our medical claims, and this is interesting information. First, I'm showing year 1 and 2 savings, and we just recently got our year 3 savings, as I said in the beginning. What we're looking at here, I just want to help you understand the chart. The year 1 savings it's broken down into medical costs, which are blue, absenteeism costs, which are red, and presenteeism costs, which are green. In year one, the savings of our medical costs alone, and this is looking at our medical costs for the participants in this program, there was about a $480,000, almost a $500,000 in savings for medical costs alone. There was an additional savings for absenteeism, and then again more for presenteeism. In year two, we saw a bigger increase in the medical savings, and I have another chart following this one that'll show you, over a $500,000, and again an increased savings in both absenteeism and presenteeism. So total savings for the first 2 years of the program, we were looking at $1 million savings in medical costs alone. We were looking at about $220,000 in savings for the absenteeism and about $900,000 for presenteeism. So then if we look at the slide, and I hope you can understand this, or I hope it's clear enough for you to see, but basically what we're looking at here at the top chart is program savings. It's what I just went through with you guys, the last page. What's over to the right are our program costs. So in year one, we were saving, if you just want to look at the medical costs, $480,000 in medical costs we were saving. We were spending about $280,000. So our ROI, based on medical claims alone, was 1.7 to 1 in the first year and 2.3 to 1 in the second year. And then you can see the other numbers as well with medical and absenteeism, with medical absenteeism and presenteeism. But these are the costs of the program. Also, if you look at the program costs, again over to the right, year two, our program costs were less than year one. And the reason for that is this data is looking at a cohort group. So in order to be looking at the people in year two, they had to participate in year one too. So it's the same people. So we spent less money on this group and we got more savings. And that resulted in a significantly higher ROI. And so what are we seeing now? Year three of the program. This was huge for us. In 2009, we saw, remember it was about $500,000 in savings for the second year of the program. We saw huge savings in year three of the program. And when we started this program, we really didn't intend to see a big savings in the beginning. You know, this is looked at as a long-term investment. So this year, when we got this result, it was significant. Again, $1.2 million in saved medical costs. And then we actually went up a little in our missed days, absenteeism days. And again, this absenteeism cost, if you're wondering, is not based on our costs alone. It's actually based on questions that are asked in the health risk appraisal. How many days have you missed from work due to absence or due to injury or illness? So it's not, well, yeah, your child had a doctor's appointment or you took a sunny day to go fishing. It's you actually missed work due to injury or illness. And that actually went up for us a little bit in that year. And our presenteeism costs were small, our savings about $87,000. If you look at, again, same things with the costs, program costs, and then the program savings. And for medical alone, we're looking at a 5.3 to 1 return on investment for the third year of our program. So we'll go back to that chart that I looked at in the beginning, or talked to in the beginning, when we said, you know, these were our healthcare costs, and this is where we were projecting the company to go over that 4 to 5 year period. What actually happened? Where did we end up? And you'll see by the star, our healthcare costs, they did increase, but at a much lower rate than we intended. So we were very happy with that. And then most recently, this is our 2009 and 2010 claims years. And if you look, L.L.Bean is the green. So in 2009, we were looking to see how we did compared to blue is the state of Maine, significantly lower. Yellow is the Northeast, so we're a little bit lower. We were a little bit higher than national norms, and then significantly higher than wholesale and retail, but that's not our market that we compare ourselves to. If you look at the second area for 2010, we saw incredible savings, and I have a chart coming up that talks a little bit about how we're explaining that. But really, when we're looking at a per enrolled employee, their costs actually went down. The medical claims cost went down significantly. And not only are we now below Maine and the Northeast, we're significantly below national norms. As we take a look another way, again, this is the total medical cost per enrolled employee. And the red line is actually what we kind of projected. If we were going to continue on this trajectory, red is what we would have projected for a 10% increase. 7.5% increase is the black line. That's obviously going up at a lower rate. The blue is what we really wanted to accomplish, the blue a 5% increase. And the green is actually what we have accomplished over the last 3 years of our program. So this is what we're seeing. The costs, the per individual cost in 2010 actually was the same as 2005 to 2006. So we're really seeing some great numbers. And when, if any one number was really low, if this number was really low but we didn't see a savings with the ROI, then we would have wondered. If the health risks weren't improving, we would wonder. But when you put all the things together that, people are improving their health risks, they're improving their overall health and well-being, we're seeing our ROI claims impacted, we're seeing our health costs go down. All these numbers together tell us a story, and the story is pretty positive that to date, it's really working. So when you look at those results, I've got to say, we did not attribute all of those savings to the Healthy Lifestyles program. We are always doing as much as we can as a company to help manage costs and help improve healthcare. So we have changed our health plan. All of our preventive care is covered at 100%. So that is done up front. We have decreased utilization because we don't have as many copay plans. We have more deductible plans in place now. But we feel that some of the behavior or we were actually changing behavior, because some things that people may go to see a doctor for, maybe they went just for peace of mind. Maybe there are other things they could have done for peace of mind, like use a nurse line or, call our clinics. There are definitely things they can do before they just go in, and certainly before they go to an ER. So we've really tried to work with utilization, and we think that that's part of it. We do think that the health promotion efforts are a big part of it. The economic downturn could play a role, and our catastrophic claims are down a little bit too. All of those have a piece in this. Our utilization numbers from Aetna's book of business are down, which is great, but our preventive care utilization is substantially above the norm. So, the fact that our costs are down is not because people aren't going in for their preventive care. Those numbers are significantly higher than Aetna, who we use as an insurance agent, than their book of business. So good numbers. So again, we always say Healthy Lifestyles isn't just a name, and these are just the faces of some of the people in the company who've had improvements from these programs. And you've seen two of them, Kathleen, who I already talked about, and Val, who stopped smoking. These two individuals right here in the top right and the lower left both lost 100 pounds, and they both did it different ways. The gentleman did it working with his health coach, and the woman at the top did it through a second shift Weight Watchers class that was offered on site. The woman down in the right-hand corner lost 32 pounds, lowered her blood pressure, and doesn't need medication anymore. And these are just some of the many, many individuals we've worked with to try and improve health. So if you're still on the line and you see this and you say, oh my gosh, what is it? It's not that bad, and I'm only going to spend 1 minute explaining it. It's it's a tool that we developed and we use to actually figure out what are the health risks throughout our company and where do we need to place our efforts. We have basic level programming for all of our employees and their family members, but we don't have unlimited resources. And if we want to target the areas with the highest risk, it's kind of hard to look at all these different reports and figure out where those risks are. So what we did is we took down the left-hand side is the risks we're looking at, and I know it's hard to read here, but we're looking at smoking, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, body mass index, exercise, poor diet, glucose levels, and stress, and emotional health. Then across the top are all the different large areas in our company. So our call centers are right here, and our distribution facilities, our retail areas, our facilities. Anything in the green column is our company average for those risks. Green is company average. White and blue are the high risk area. White and blue are below the company average for that risk. Anything that's yellow is above the company average for that risk, and anything that's pink is the highest risk area for the company. So if you went to smoking, our company average is 7.3%. You go over to the right to the pink for that line, and you'll see our order fulfillment center or our distribution facility has 12.7%. So that's the highest risk area for smoking. But if you were me and you were going to try and figure out where in the company you're going to place your emphasis, you would be looking for the columns that have the most yellow and pink. And that for us is this one right here, which is our call center up in Bangor, which is 2 hours north of where I'm located. They had a 64% obesity rate. 64%. That's not overweight and obese. That's just obese. And then they had a 21% overweight. So they have about 85% of their employees that have weight issues. They have the highest level in the company for poor diet. They have the lowest level in the company for exercise. Highest, almost double the company average for glucose, and also for emotional health, depression. Does that tie together? I mean, what a case study, what a opportunity to really bring in some pilot programs and offer some real, I would say, focused assistance for these individuals. So they have a very sedentary job. They also have leadership at that location that is so supportive. So we really have an opportunity here, and we are going to work to address those issues. So much to share, so little time. So I did want to just touch base on the fact that we are doing some pilot programs. I knew we'd be close to the end, and I want to allow a few minutes for questions. I'm sorry for the formatting of this slide. As I sent it, it got smushed. It did look a little bit better initially. We did a pilot program in our returns department. So returns is, again, a production area in our distribution facility. We were trying to improve the health of an aging workforce. These people in this area have very physically demanding jobs. The pilot group we started, what we decided is we were going to try to pay them to exercise. Will they change behaviors? Will they improve their health? Will they maintain their changes over time? This is another area, and I'm talking fast because I realize time is flying. But this is another one of those things that I said, I don't think this is the right thing to do. So if it was up to me, we probably wouldn't have done this pilot. And my point here is just because you may think it's not the right thing to do doesn't mean it's not. This is probably one of the most successful pilots we've done. So I just encourage you all, be open to other people's ideas. Be open to the idea that, you know, even if it hasn't worked before or it goes against some of the things you think, it still might be the right thing to do for your company. So we developed a 12-week exercise program. It was offered 3 times a week for 45 minutes. It was on company time. It was led by 2 of our exercise physiologists, exercise specialists. And we had an exercise group and a control group. We had 12 people in the program. And it's all we could accommodate for this pilot. So granted, really small numbers, and we're repeating it in 5 different locations. But we had 12 people participate in the program. 75% of the people were over 50, and 73% were female. Most of them were very low-level exercisers. Both groups were pre- and post-tested, the participants and the control group, and they had a 6-month follow-up. So the next page talks a little bit about the results. 55% of the people participating reduced their body mass index. 90% increased physical activity. 91% increased muscular strength and muscular endurance. And most surprisingly, what we didn't expect to see, we had the customer service employees who actually have a UPH productivity measure increase their productivity 18.5% over the course of that 12-week program. The control groups remain the same. Most exciting about this 6-month follow-up after the program totally ended, the exercise group continued to improve on every health risk. Their stress continued to go down. Their eating habits continued to improve. Their exercise frequency of exercise and length of exercise increased. So, my thought was when you stop paying them, they're going to stop doing it. But reality is they did not stop. They changed their behavior, and their behavior has been maintained. So what did we recommend to that group? We recommended that we pilot it in other areas. Right now we're working in our manufacturing facility doing the same program. And after manufacturing, we're going to 3 other areas in our distribution facilities. And the neatest thing is our Vice President of Distribution, who was really supportive of this program from the start, asked all his managers to budget the amount of money for the employees in their areas, for pilot groups in each area, to try. So the money that they would pay for the time, to budget that time so that we could do pilots in all areas. So I will share with you as we go forward some of the results. And I did have another slide on a facilities program that we're doing just with the guys. We saw great success with this program. There's a little bit of information there. We had 74 facilities employees earn over the course of a year. They did all of the requirements of the program, and 74 people actually got a day off with pay based on year-long participation in the program. So they really did a great job, and I wish I could share more of the information. The one thing I will say, this was largely led and developed by facilities with our support. We didn't bring this program into them. They developed it based on what they wanted to see improved in their areas, and it's just been really successful. And then just a final slide. These are different groups of our employees. We did a hike, a Bradbury Mountain hike with employees and their kids. We did bike trips. We did a walk down in Connecticut along the river for one of our stores. We did trips. And I think we're just about to wrap up. So that's the end. I'm sorry that, as I said, so much to talk about, so little time, but I hope I gave you some information that might be interesting to you.
Well, that was great, Susan. Thank you so much. So amazing. I did not realize that you had won in '93 and again for obvious reasons. You've done amazing things and real world saving money in your programs and such. It's pretty darn impressive, I must say.
Thank you.
Sure. Well, if anybody has a quick question, they can type it into the text box and I will read it to Susan. Obviously, Susan, you've provided your contact information, which is great, because I'm sure people will have questions once they've had the opportunity to sort of digest this massive amount of information that you've just shared.
Right. Sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's really awesome that you've got groups of employees coming to you with ideas. That really, I think that speaks volumes to the fact that it's, that it's really, that people get it. really.
Yeah, I think that's, sometimes I think you can feel threatened by that when they suggest things and do things on their own, but in my mind it is the probably best sign of success that they're taking the initiative to start programs and they really have an interest and a passion, and that's fabulous.
Yeah. Let's see, we got a couple questions. Sean wants to know, do you require employees' spouses or other family members to participate in screenings in order to get the reduction in health insurance premiums?
Yes, we do. And if anybody's wondering, that's gone really well. We did have a little bit of a pushback, but as you can see, we have 85% participating. And what we're going to do going forward, we're going to try and be able to include physician data. So if somebody's already done those tests through their physician, we'd be willing to accept that as well.
That's a good move, probably.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let's see. Lisa wants to know if you would be willing to share your annual program budget.
Sure. Our budget, actually, our Healthy Lifestyles budget is separate from our wellness budget. Our wellness budget itself is about $300,000. And that's for, throughout the entire company. Our Healthy Lifestyles budget is part of the benefits department, and again, that's probably closer to about $300,000 when you've put in everything.
Mm-hmm. So do you work out of the HR department? Are you all I would assume you're probably very tied together.
Interestingly enough, no. Our Health, Safety, Wellness department is separate from HR, and so we work with safety and with occupational health, and then we, of course, network very closely with our benefits department, which is part of HR. And I don't think you have to have the same reporting structure to have really effective programming or relationships.
Yeah, clearly not.
Yeah.
Here's another question. Do you have, you're self-insured, do you have on-site clinics at your facilities?
We have on-site occupational health clinics for injury management, not for regular treatment. We do flu shots on site, and we do some minor treatment or assessment in the clinics, but most of it is injury related. So we have physical therapists, nurse practitioners, and physicians on site to manage injuries, but not for wellness visits.
Well, super. Well, darn it, we ran over like a minute.
Well, thank you very much. I enjoyed the opportunity to share the information. And if anybody is still on and wants to connect with me, I'd be happy to hear from you.
That's great. Well, I really appreciate you sharing all this great information, and I really appreciate you being here. It was great learning all about L.L.Bean, one of my favorite places to be.
Well, great. Thank you very much for having me.
Have a great day. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.